Morning. Hi, everyone. I've got a few people coming in now. I'm just trying to see who's joining on my phone. 1 second. Hello, everybody. Right, I think we've got a few people joining, so I'll kick off. Hopefully, you can all see my screen. So, morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Higher Education Hub. We've got an exciting demo from Martin today. So we'll be exploring a little bit about how we can use the Microsoft stack to manage alumni relations. But before we get into that, we thought it would be a little bit of fun just to kick off the conversation around what we typically think of when we think of the university experience. Please, if you've got anything that comes to mind, pop it in the chat. And then we'll just come back to that in a minute and kind of just run through a couple of the things that when we asked people at Crimson what they thought, and also what any kind of inputs from you guys on the call too. So for anyone that hasn't been to one of our higher education hubs before, just a little bit of context. So this community was created to bring together our peers in the higher education sector through some discussions around what technology is happening, the relevant themes and demos that we're seeing in the market, and to bring together some of the business leaders as well and start a bit of a dialogue between us all. Just a bit of background about Crimson. So our main goal and mission statement is to unite people, processes and technology to solve your toughest business challenges. And that's something that we really try and champion in all our engagements with our customers, as we know that through delivering that kind of iterative, agile technique, you can see that value quicker, but also it helps to often validate business cases and improve that user adoption by seeing the change that is happening across the business. We are a Microsoft Gold partner. We work across several sectors, of which higher education is one, along with home builders, housing, and local regional government. And we've got a couple of technology practices across Crimson, so ranging from Azure, Dynamics 365, Modern Workplace, and we've also got a data practice that kind of feeds into our Power BI consultancy team. And then just what kind of, I suppose, Crimson known for. So that experience with the technology and with our customers helps us really drive some intelligent customer experiences, optimize business processes and actionable data insights, with the goal really to bridge those gaps between what the business problems are to the technology and then the outcomes that you can see off the back of it. So just some introductions to ourselves. So I'm Madeline Masters. I am a new business consultant at Crimson. I work across the higher education sector and have a couple of other customers across our other sectors too, but predominantly higher education, and work with our consultancy team, which leads me nicely to introduce Martin.
Good morning, everybody. So yeah, I'm Martin Gallagher. I'm one of the solutions consultants within the Crimson consultancy team. And I'm going to be presenting you a short demo on how we feel Dynamics 365 could help manage your relationships when it comes to alumni. So it'll be coming back to me in a second. But I'm going to hand back to Madeline for now.
Perfect. Thanks, Martin. So at the beginning, I just said to if anyone can pop in the chat any kind of ideas of what you think of when you think of a university experience. So we kind of asked around a little bit in Crimson, and there was quite a range of different things that were said, from improving our knowledge and skill set in a given subject to meeting new people, all the way to studying but eating probably food that isn't that good for us, or maybe we shouldn't, and socializing and like Emily said, late nights from studying to partying, all of that kind of stuff. I don't know if anyone else has anything else in the chat. Extracurricular, sports, drama. Thanks, Jeremy. partying, although studies came first. I like that. Perfect. So that's kind of, I suppose, just a really quick view of what does the university mean. But actually, for a lot of people, when we ask them, it's, university is the best time of your life. And that's kind of like a common theme throughout everything. And that lifelong memories that students make while they're studying at your institution can often create really fiercely loyal graduates who are passionate advocates for the university. But what, I suppose, what does that feed into? What's the importance of those alumni relations? And this will feed into what Martin is going to talk about in a little bit. All the way from fundraising support to industry-based projects, work experience, career opportunities, mentoring, the volunteers, but also into that organic advocacy. So how do we bring the knowledge from those alumni? How do you manage that engagement with your alumni after they've left the university, and bring that experiences back into the university and continue that engagement with them? So how can universities improve the way they manage alumni relations? That's kind of the question that we've been asking ourselves, and that feeds nicely into the demo from Martin. So I will pass over to Martin now for the demo. If you've got any questions throughout, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat, and we'll kind of call anything out. If you're comfortable, please pop up your hand, come off mute. We're keen for it to be quite conversational. So yes, I'll keep an eye on everything, and don't hesitate to speak out if there's anything that's interesting or you want to comment on.
Okay, so thanks, Madeline. So good morning again. So just to pick up off where Madeline was sort of talking about there with the different types of relationships and the responsibilities of alumni within the universities. What universities are telling us is that like a lot of business relationships, it is the relationship that is key to nurturing sort of alumni opportunities, and obviously making sure that you keep the relationship going with your students that have moved on to new opportunities, or maybe they've done their first program of study with the university, and they're looking for other opportunities within the university to progress. So many students will leave university and they'll go out into the wide world, and what they'll do is they'll end up working for organizations. So so many relationships within alumni are not just directly business to customer. So, personal relationships between somebody within the university and somebody that has left the university and gone out to employment, but also with the businesses themselves. So, so you might use, businesses to be able to provide mentoring opportunities or apprenticeship opportunities, work placements, those sorts of things. So the relationship with organizations is as key as the individual relationships that you have with your past students. So what I'm going to do is just take you through some examples, just to give you a feel for how Dynamics 365 could help manage those relationships and help nurture some of those opportunities, whether they're mentoring opportunities or whether they're fundraising opportunities, just to give you a feel for this. We build out accelerators at Crimson. So what the accelerator does is it gives us a sort of a starting place. It's not the fully featured solution, but it's a starting place that we use that has some of the key elements of the particular environment that we're talking about. So in this case, that would be alumni. So I'm going to start here with an organization. So you can see that the university has a relationship with an organization called Town Cross Engineering. And you can see we've got some basic details here, and we know that Alan is the primary contact for this organization. So what I'm going to do is go in and open up this record, and you'll see that we've actually got some key information in here. So apart from the obvious things like, Alan, the organization's contact details, email addresses, their obviously their address. We've got all that sort of information in there. What we have got in here though is a way of classifying this organization, so we know what types of organizations we're actually dealing with, and obviously that might vary from different departments within the university. So obviously different departments are going to have different ideas of the types of organizations they would like alumni to engage with. So you can see here we've got just a very simple way of classifying the organizations here. Um, Down here we've got the contacts that we know, and we're actually going to be looking at Alan in a little bit more detail in a second. And then what we've got down here then is some fundraising opportunities and any inquiries that might be coming in from these individuals. And that could be from Adam or Alan, or it could be from a new contact that we haven't previously encountered at Town Cross Engineering. The key thing here is, as we said, it is that it is the relationship. So what I wanted to point out here was we've got this timeline. This is a standard feature within Dynamics. So if you're currently using Dynamics, you'll be fully aware of what this is for. But this gives me a history of all the interactions that we've had with this organization, and that will include individuals at that organization as well. So if I send a personal email to Alan, and I track that email into Dynamics, even though it will be logged against Alan's contact record, I'll also see it in the organization record as well. Now, something that I just wanted to point out for you is this area here, and you're going to see this on a lot of the forms. Sadly, it's not populating with the data yet because I haven't had a chance to fully train it, but basically what this is a new preview feature, and this is called activity suggestions. So what this is actually going to do is this is going to look at the user's Outlook environment. So basically look at their inboxes in Outlook and their sent items in Outlook. And it's basically going to interrogate those and identify if there are any activities going on in Outlook that Dynamics thinks that should be pushed up to or tracked up to Dynamics. So, so if I've had a personal email discussion with Alan, for example, then obviously that's only going to be in my Outlook. But what this will do is this will suggest to me that maybe I should track that email thread up to Dynamics because it's something that would contribute to the overall relationship. Now, when it's a suggestion, only I, as the user, will see it, but then if I actually then choose to track it, then obviously it will be then visible to other users in the system based on any permissions that we have already configured. So that's a new feature. That's quite useful, I think, because sometimes we send emails. I send emails to my internal colleagues when we're talking about different customers, and sometimes I should be tracking those up to Dynamics, and I maybe forget to do that. So that will give me an indicator that there is some useful activity that I should be pushing up to Dynamics. Now, it does need training. It's something that you need to educate the system to identify the right kind of keywords and so on. It's not just going to randomly pick emails and say that you should be tracking those in CRM. The other thing that I wanted to point out to you is the business process flow, and we'll talk about these in a bit more detail in a second. But what you can see here, this is an onboarding. So if a student, for example, leaves the university and goes and joins a company and then wants to engage with the university because maybe that student feels that there are services that company could be offering, support that company could be offering to the university, then typically we would want to onboard them. We wouldn't just want to sign up to them and start using them. There would be a defined process that we would need to go through, and we'll look at that in a bit more detail when we look at fundraising, but it's the same concept wherever you see that. What I'm going to do now then is I'm just going to drop down into Alan's contact record, and I can do that from here. So what I can do is I can select Alan here, or I can click on the three buttons here and I can choose. Hang on, that should have opened him up. Hang on. Come on. There we go. So I'm now into Alan's contact record. So what you can see is it's a very similar layout here to what we had at the organization level. So we've got Alan's contact information down the left-hand side of the screen, and then over here in the middle we've got this timeline again. So that's basically got all the appointments and the email activity and so on. And again, on the right-hand side, what we're doing is we're pulling over some information from the organization so that we don't have to duplicate data entry, because obviously that can be timely. We know Alan works for Town Cross Engineering now, so what we can do is we can pull across their phone number and email address from here, and also their classification. So when I'm looking at Alan's record, I know the type of organization he works for. And also what we've done here is we've added on this indicator here that indicates that Alan is an alumni, but actually he's now turned into a business contact as well. So we're actually actively using Alan's experience within the university to engage with him, to provide support to students, fundraising, and so on. And again, we've got Alan's fundraising opportunities down here and any inquiries that Alan may have submitted to the university post his departure. Also across the top here, we've got some tabs where we've got things like subjects and interests. So these are basically, the subjects and interests that Alan has. So we can see that he's very focused on data science, and actually, when he left the university, he had actually completed his postgraduate research. So we know exactly what what he did when he left the university. In terms of his mentoring, so we can see that he's actually he's actually mentoring one student at the moment, and that's David. And actually, it looks like we're going to be lining him up to mentor a second student as well. So we've got Lewis in there. So we've got some really clear insight into how we're engaging with Alan as an individual since he's left the university. So I'm just going to pause there for a second to see if we have got any questions.
There aren't any in the chat at the moment, but if
Okay.
anyone's got any, please feel free to put them in.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I guess the next thing we wanted to know then is about volunteering. So I'm just going to leave Alan's record for the moment. So I'm just going to come out of there and out of Town Cross. So what we've got on the left-hand side here is we've got these volunteer offers. So these are offers for individuals or organizations to basically work with the university. Now, they could come from the individuals or the organizations actively contacting the university to be able to start a relationship with the university, or it could come from the university approaching these individuals or organizations. But I would probably assume that the majority of those relationships would come through alumni relationships. So past students having left the university, gone on to work for other organizations, and would now like to offer to support the university. So this is just a way for us to be able to record. And if I go into Alan's one here, for example, it's just a very simple screen that just allows me to be able to capture, Alan's availability. So when is he available? Again, we've got this timeline here, so we could log any activities that are related to this. So if I've emailed Alan specifically about a volunteering opportunity, then we can put this in here. And what type of activity is it? So, he's volunteering to be a mentor, but it could be that he was volunteering to do things like open days, or maybe to provide fundraising. So that's where we would record all of these. Now, these would come in through various channels. They could come in through things like email. They could come in through social media. So there's different channels that these these volunteering opportunities could come into the university through, and it's a case of capturing those and logging those opportunities, so that you know the kinds of people that will be interested in working with the university. So then what we then move on to the kind of the mentoring. So if we specifically look at mentoring, so Alan has volunteered to be a mentor. So if I go and look at my mentor requests, what you can actually see in here is that we've got a list of a short list, admittedly, of mentor requests, and this is basically where we are actively engaging with our alumni and potentially other contacts to basically see if we can get them to mentor our existing students. And you can see in here we've got just who the mentor is, who the mentee is, the subjects and the interests. So we can see Adam is mentoring Patrick in engineering, mechanical engineering, and that is actually started. If we look at this one here, the one that Alan is doing, where he's mentoring David. So if I just open that record, again, what we've got in here is just the kind of the base of the record, which is basically just allowing us to capture, who the mentor is, who the mentee is, what the subject is, the start date. So when did the mentoring actually commence? And this is showing that he actually came through a volunteer offer. So Alan actually volunteered to be a mentor for the university, and we're just linking that back to that particular volunteer. We've got a description field down here, and then we've got this details tab, which is where we could capture all the details of that relationship. So, how is that relationship progressing? Is it working? Are there any issues? We could document all of that within this record, along with any activity. So again, you can see here there's an appointment for me as a member of the alumni team to go out and meet with Alan and David to actually discuss progress in terms of how that is actually developing. And if I wanted to summarize that, what I've actually got here is this sort of visualization of how I could rate that. So progress is good. Yeah, okay, he's a good team player, and his timekeeping is pretty good as well. So I just put some sort of basic fields in there, but obviously that could be tailored to the specific information that you wanna capture. So we've got that ability to just profile that relationship again, and um, we could use those values then in future to be able to communicate out to our mentors and our mentees, based on you know how well they progress with those relationships. So I'm just going to save and close and come out of that one. So we've seen that we've got the ability to be able to record those sorts of relationships that we have with our alumni once they've left the university. But what I wanted to move on to was fundraising. So this is obviously a much bigger area because a lot of universities are actively engaging in ways of raising funds to support the work of the university, and to improve the services that universities offer to their current students. And that might start with a set of appeals and programs. So you can see here we've got an area for recording appeals and programs. So what we've got in here, for example, is we've got an active appeal going on, which is basically for a new science block. So we want to basically build a new science block here, and in here we've got some basic details about this. So what is the start date of the appeal? What is the end date of the appeal? Again, we've got this timeline, and then our target is we need to raise 3.5 million to build this new science block. So that is basically our appeal record. It's very basic within our accelerator because we would then want to build this out with the specifics that the particular university we're engaging with would want on this record. Once we've got our appeals set up, the next thing then would be to set up the fundraising activities. So you can see here we've got an annual New Year lecture, and actually this year that's going to be run in support of our appeal for the new science block. Um, and the fundraising time is going to be a guest lecture. So you can see in here, if I open up this record, again, we've got more information in here. And hopefully from this actual fundraising activity, we're going to hope to raise about 250,000. So again, these would all be linked to the particular appeal that we are raising the money for. And then what I wanted to get onto, because this is where most of the interesting stuff is the fundraising opportunities. Now, fundraising opportunities could come from a number of different different channels. So the first one is if we are running an appeal, and we're running fundraising activities, then we could actively be engaging with um, our alumni and our business contacts to basically raise money to support those appeals and those fundraising activities. But also, a lot of university fundraising comes through not necessarily through appeals and programs, but actually through the university building direct relationships with the contacts. And maybe those contacts will support the university on a more regular basis. So they might, donate a certain amount of money to the university every year. Uh, and that's irrespective of any appeals and programs that we might be running. So you can see here that we've got a list of fundraising opportunities that are currently going on. Some of them are related to an appeal. So we've got one here with Jim Glynn. So he's obviously, we're hoping that he's going to support us in funding our new science block. But we've actually got one here, which is just, again, with Alan. And actually, he's just, not concerned about supporting any particular appeal. He just wants to support the university. So what I'm going to do is going to open this record and show you some of the detail that we've actually got in here. So what you can see in here is that we've got the basic details of this fundraising opportunity. So we've got, we know that it's Alan. We know Alan works for Town Cross Engineering. This particular fundraising opportunity is not linked to any appeal or activity. However, it is hopefully going to be a pledge, and actually it is a pledge because Alan has already made a pledge. Is he a previous donator? Yes, he is. And then down here we've got some financials. So what we've got is basically what was our target and what was the actual. So we were hoping that Alan would donate 100,000, and he has actually agreed to donate 100,000. This is the pledge date, and he commenced to make the funding available on this date. And you can see here that at the moment he's only donated 50,000, so there's still a remaining 50,000 donation to actually come from Alan, and that can be seen on here. So if I go to the pledges and donations tab, so what you can actually see in here is that Alan has agreed to, in terms of his pledge, he's agreed to pledge the 100,000, but in two payments. So basically, or two separate pledges. So basically, he's going to make one in May and one in November. They're both going to be for 50,000. The one in November, the one in May, sorry, we've already had, and that's complete. But we haven't had obviously the November one yet because it hasn't actually got to that date. And then down here, I can see the corresponding donations. So what we've got here is the idea that we've got a donation that's actually come in from Alan. So Alan has pledged to donate 50,000 and has actually followed through that donation. Now, linked to that donation would then be the payment. So we would actually see the payments. Now, this is not a payment system. This is just a record of we've actually received that money. So we've got that logged against the donation record. So if I go to the process bar, so I showed you the example of the process bar for the company or the organization onboarding earlier, but this is the fundraising process. So obviously, as we're going through a fundraiser, what we'll need to do is to follow a defined process as best as we possibly can. So what we've done here is we've just created a sample process, which is a 6-stage process, which starts with identification. So basically what we're doing there is if this was somebody brand new to us, and we were trying to build a relationship with either a new organization or individuals at a new organization, or maybe this is somebody that was previously at the university, our relationship has been fairly quiet for a while, but now that relationship is starting to pick up again. So we need to identify who these people are. So that's the identification. We need to identify who the key people are that we need to be speaking to. What we're then going to do is to work our way through the process. So we go through research, we go through plan, cultivate, ask, and then finally pledge. And at each one of these, what you'll see is we've got key values. So on the ask, for example, we've got that the contact was made on the 4th of May and the plan has been submitted. So we've built out a plan of how we're going to approach Alan. And basically we've got that plan. That plan's been approved. We're then going to be cultivating that relationship. Yeah. Um, and then we're going to ask Alan very politely for a donation. And then we get to the pledge one at the end. So this is where we capture the pledge. So you can see his actual pledge is 100,000. These are the dates that you saw previously. He's going to pay that in 2 lots of donations, and he's going to pay it biannually. So he's going to pay it twice, 2 payments over the year. So you can see we've got the information in here that's all captured, and hopefully quite clear to see how that is going to come into the university. If I go back to the general tab, these haven't seemed to have populated. Okay, again we've got this ranking here in terms of sentiment. So basically, as we build up that relationship with Alan, how is he in terms of his support towards the university, obviously his wealth, and is he approachable? Now, what we've got here is you can see I can actually click on these and record these myself. And I put that on the fundraising opportunity because obviously that could change, because people's views will change over time. So I put that on the fundraising opportunity so that we could do a comparison between, Alan's sentiment maybe a year ago compared to his sentiment now. But what we could do, if you didn't want to be able to record that manually, it is possible to use things like AI technologies to look at the interactions that we're having with Alan and to use those interactions to actually be able to populate these for you. So this would give you some sentiment analysis based on the interactions and the communications that you're having with Alan. So I'll just pause there for a second in case there's any questions.
We do just have a question from Jonathan.
Okay.
I've just seen David has replied in the chat about it. So
All right.
it was just a question around higher education institutions that we've worked with around the alumni experience.
Okay. Cool. And that's already been answered in the chat, yeah?
Yeah, funnily enough, David literally sent it as we went off. So yeah,
Okay.
so indirectly we've worked with some organisations implementing similar kind of processes.
Yep.
And this is the accelerator that we have created off the back of that kind of experience and those engagements. and just reiterating what David put in the chat, so
Yeah.
it's not locked down. So any part of this, if there's anything that is specific to any given institution, we can tailor it, like Martin mentioned, around those sentiments, that kind of process flow, to make it really specific to the processes that your institutions have.
Yes, and I think also it's important to stress there then as well is that the different universities will want to capture different information as part of these activities. So, so when it comes to things like profiling and planning, we tailor that to then what each individual university wants to do. So, they'll have different ideas of how they're going to profile their alumni. They'll have different ideas about how they're going to plan that engagement, because each university will tackle it in a slightly different way. Um, Based on the types of relationships they have and the type of universities that they are. So yeah, we very much tailor this basic structure to the specific needs of the individual university. So I just wanted to drop back to my list view, because one of the things that we can do here is I can obviously in a real world this list would be much longer. And what you'd well, that's what you would hope anyway, that it would be much longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop the chart option on here, and it's probably going to, as I guessed, it's going to show me the wrong chart. So this is the one I want. So what I've done here is I've just used the standard sort of sales pipeline idea to kind of give you an indicator of what you've got in terms of pledges at each stage. So obviously, when they're very much in the kind of the identification stage and so on, then obviously the pipeline might be bigger, because at this point you're assessing what you think you're going to be able to um, ask the contact for, or ask the alumni for. So this is very much what your target is, and then obviously as you come down the pipeline, then obviously the numbers will narrow in. So what you can basically see then is you get to the point where you get hopefully a pledge. But what's really nice with Dynamics is obviously if this list is quite long, what you can do is you can sort of click on these over here and actually um, drill into those. So as I click on the chart, it's filtering the items on the list. So that's really useful where the internal user is managing quite a lot of fundraising activity and fundraising relationships. Okay, so I'm just gonna come back out of this one, because the last, I guess the last thing that I wanted to just quickly show you was I've talked a lot about relationships, and a lot of business activity is absolutely focused on the relationships that we have today and the strength of those relationships, and universities are no different to that. So making sure that you maintain the relationship with your students when they leave, but also nurturing the relationships that they then build. So to give you an example, Alan has gone on to work for Town Cross Engineering. He's a student that's left the university. He's gone to work for Town Cross Engineering. But what we've then been able to do is we've been able to nurture Alan's relationship with the other people that he's been able to build up at Town Cross Engineering. So as a result of us knowing Alan, because Alan is an alumni, we've actually built a relationship with Adam as well. So Adam also works at Town Cross Engineering. I'm just going to drop into a different environment, because what I'm about to show you is actually um, pretty new. So this has only just basically come out of Microsoft, just been released by Microsoft, and we haven't got it set up on all of our demo environments, but I really wanted to show you this. So I'm just going to drop into a different one. So ignore the fact that this is not education. This is purely about relationships. And this is a different kind of contact form. But what I wanted to show you here was this area over here. This who knows whom. Um, so basically, what we're talking about here is Alex. So let's say Alex is an alumni, and Alex has gone to go and work for an organization called Trey Research. And while she's working at that organization, she has built up three other relationships. And this who knows whom is using a combination of artificial intelligence and information that it's able to get from things like the activity timeline, but also even things like integration with social media. Um, and the system is actually able to work out that Alex actually knows uh, Alan. That's a different Alan. This is Alan Steiner. But that relationship is actually quite strong. And then she's got two other relationships, one with Ali and one with Diane. And those relationships aren't as strong, but they still exist. Now I can change the view of this panel, and if I click on this icon up here in the top right hand corner, what it actually does is it switches it around into this view for me, where it actually shows me the details, and you can see it's actually showing me some email addresses as well. So at some point, these people have been entered into our CRM system, into Dynamics. And what I can see here is that I've got um, this like a traffic light system, I guess, which shows the strength of that relationship. But I've also got this get introduced here as well. So this allows me then to basically reach out to Alan and say, can you get me a relationship to Alex, or vice versa, depending on how the relationship goes. So that's really quite useful, because obviously you want to nurture those relationships and nurture your alumni relationships to be able to build out a bigger network of relationships. I'm using the word relationship a lot here because for me, I think it really is quite key. And then the last thing I wanted to show you was in here, we've got this tab called Relationship Analytics. So again, what this is doing, this is using insight into how that relationship is being nurtured. So in this case, it's with Alex. Um, and this is basically showing some KPIs, key performance indicators, and these are computed from activities that are built up over um, the current year and also the previous year's information within Dynamics, and also using elements of artificial intelligence as well to kind of hone those sort of KPIs. So you can see here we've got one around phone calls, we've got one around the amount of time invested, um, and even down to how long it takes for us to respond to emails, and then what our response rates are like. So this is giving me some insight um, into how this relationship is progressing. Now, the key thing with any kind of insight is Dynamics and artificial intelligence and cognitive services and all those things that sit in the Microsoft technology stack. They can give you the insights, but the key is how you interpret those. So how you interpret those insights. So you might look at this and go, or you might look at a value here and decide that, this is telling me that maybe um, they prefer different channels of communication. So maybe Alex prefers to be emailed rather than phoned, or vice versa. Maybe there are certain times of the day where Alex prefers to be contacted. So all of that is valuable insights when I'm trying to build a relationship. Below this, what it then does is it gives me some analytics on this. So you can see that our relationship health is good and steady. But then you've got some charts here, which is basically showing you, um, you know, the types of comparative interactions that you have with your customer. So in this case, that would be Alex, who's our alumni. Um, so, Alex is good with emails, although to be honest, she seems to be better with phone calls. So we seem to get quite a lot of phone calls that are initiated by Alex. So again, that's maybe telling me that the best way to communicate with Alex is on the phone rather than uh, maybe she's not into meetings very much. So again, it's all about how you interpret these stats that the system is providing. And again, you can see we've got some here about hourly investment, email engagement. So, are they opening my emails? Are they viewing attachments? Um, are they clicking on links in those emails? So, of the emails that we're sending out, that email engagement, what are they actually doing with those emails? And then we've got some more down here. The one I particularly like is this one at the bottom, because what this one does is this shows me an all-up view of the relationship activities, the different types of activities, and as I hover over these or over the key at the bottom, I can specifically focus in um, on different types of activities. And also what this chart shows me is that there was a period of time here in the middle, not a huge time, just a week or so, but where we had no interaction at all. Now, it could be that Alex was on holiday or something of that nature, but if that period of time was much longer, um, then that might again indicate that there's something not quite right with the relationship. So obviously something that we need to focus in on. Okay, I'm going to stop the demo there for a second and just see if there are any questions, and hopefully we can answer those, or if not, I will hand back to Madeline.
Thanks, Martin. We don't have any questions in the chat, but does anyone have anything that they want to, any comments on what they've seen, any kind of takeaways from it? Give it a minute in case there's anything. Yeah, it would be good if anyone's got any kind of feedback on it. As we mentioned, we've built out the kind of accelerator that Martin shared today, from our kind of experience with working on these kind of processes. Is there anything that you guys think is missing from this that is really valuable? Any of the challenges that you have with engaging with your alumni that we haven't covered off, or that we could explore? A couple of people typing.
Okay.
Because I think this last bit you showed, Martin, is quite powerful, because while I know you're saying it's kind of across the wider piece of knowing how engaged different people are, and the best way to engage is often really powerful in
Yes. So
understanding how
yeah,
to interact and how to.
yes, absolutely. So what some people within alumni teams at universities have said to us is that they can often spend a lot of time trying to nurture a relationship which basically isn't going to go anywhere, that maybe that relationship is finished, and this allows you to be able to identify where you need to focus and invest your time. So obviously you want to invest your time, particularly when it comes to something like fundraising. I mean, other aspects of alumni is about supporting your students once they've left, and obviously keep that engagement going so that you can communicate with those students or ex-students and tell them what's going on at the university, kind of newsletter type things. And that's all part of alumni. But when it comes to things like fundraising, you want to make sure that you're investing your time in the right kind of relationships, the relationships that are going to allow you to be able to develop. So yeah, so something like this is really useful for that, because it gives you quick insight into you know, who's responding to your activities.
Yeah, exactly.
So have we got any comments in the chat?
So just a comment around letter generation. So a lot of the time we're focusing on, how do we engage via emails or via calls. Letter generation can be something that alumni still like. Also, engaging via WhatsApp or other kind of social media platforms as well. So
So just on the letter generation, obviously when we look at the activities, so if I just flip back to this one, so when we look at the activities in here, so one of the activities that we can add in here is a letter. So we've got a record of the fact that we've sent that particular individual a letter. And how we generate that letter, there's lots of ways that we could do it, but we use some really clever and very simple tools that allow us to be able to create very personalized letters, because if in all your types of communication, the more personalized you can make them, the better. So for emails, letters, anything of that sort of nature, if you can really personalize them, and some of the tools that we use make that very, very easy to do within Dynamics. And then obviously record that as an activity in the timeline. So you've got a record of the fact that you sent the individual a letter. So yeah, letters is definitely still in there and is still possible to do.
Perfect. Thanks, Martin. I think that's most of the questions. So I'll just take over the screen again and just up. If anything else comes in as well into the chat, we'll keep an eye on it and we can reach out afterwards if it's of interest. So just, I suppose, a thank you for everyone who's come on the call today, everyone that has been involved. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you found it insightful. We do have two little asks. I've put my details on here. So if there's anything following this that you're interested in, whether it's just having a further discussion about how this could be applied to your institution, I've put my contact details here. Please don't hesitate to reach out and we can kind of explore that with yourselves. We've also just got 2 QR codes on here. So the first one is for our LinkedIn page. So we have our Crimson University LinkedIn page that looks at kind of blog posts, what we're seeing in the market, and also shares details about events like this one. So it's worth giving it a follow. There's a lot of content going up on there at the moment. So always worth having a look. And then our second one is just to complete a survey. So we'd really appreciate if just a minute more of your time, complete the survey, give us some feedback. And if there's anything that you want to see in one of our next sessions, please let us know. We're keen to make this good for the community and something that you all want to kind of explore, or if there's a theme or topic, let us know and we'll kind of look to explore those. So that's kind of our final slide on here. If there's anything, like I said, don't hesitate to reach out. We do have another higher education hub in about 6 to 8 weeks. So please keep an eye out for that. I'm sure we'll send you any of the details as well, just so you can get involved. But that is it from us, unless there were any more questions.
Hi, sorry, thanks for that. I just had a quick question, is probably a bit more general rather than related specifically to this accelerator itself. But it was more around the kind of proprietary model for the accelerators in general. What if these are kind of developed and handed over? What is the kind of licensing agreements or anything like that with you guys? And who kind of owns those accelerators once they're handed over?
Do you want me to take that?
I was going to say, you come on video, so I don't know if you want to cover off.
Yeah, so what we basically do, Ian, is we create the accelerator using a solution file in the particular software package, and you can deploy that as a managed solution, which is your typical, you can't get at it, you can't change it once it's deployed, or you can deploy it as an unmanaged solution. So all of our accelerators, we go down the unmanaged solution because we see the accelerator as a building block. Okay, it doesn't get you your final solution, but it gets you a lot of the stuff that you'd expect to be there, and then you can tailor it accordingly. What we do is we charge £1 just to retain the IP on the accelerator, and just to make sure that you don't run off and sell our accelerator to somebody else effectively. But then the accelerator is that it's a building block free for you to tailor to suit exactly how you want to run in your business. There's a one-off charge of £1. We don't charge a monthly fee or an annual fee or anything like that against it. We see our accelerators very much as our investment in the industry, which is why we're keen to show them on the hubs and try and get feedback and that sort of engagement. All we're really doing is just protecting that investment with the IP statement.
Oh, great. No, that sounds really good. Quite refreshing to hear, right? So, yeah, thanks so much.
Good.
Any others?
I think that might be it. Well,
Yeah.
if you've got any more questions, guys, like I said, please reach out. I'll put my email there. We'll follow up as well with anyone that wants to have any sessions to explore it. So thanks everybody for today. Hopefully you found it insightful, and hopefully we'll see you on the next hub as well.
Cool.
Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank you all.
Yeah, have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.